Hi guys and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you've seen and if you want to see more. Coming up in today's episode, NRL game reports and highlights of the Challenge Cup 6th round tie between Wigan Warriors and Salford Red Devils. So we begin today with the NRL results for the last 3 days, as there was one game on Thursday, 2 games on Friday and 3 games on Saturday. So we'll quickly go through all the results and reports and the scorers for each of those games. So we'll begin on Thursday as the St George Illawarra Dragons faced the Cronulla Sharks. For the Dragons, it was a way to get back into a winning form as in Week 1, they beat the Warriors 28 points to 16, but then they lost to the Penrith Panthers the last time out in a close game, 16 points to 20. For the Cronulla Sharks, last time out, they beat the Parramatta Eels 18 points to 16 in the local derby, while in the first round, they were beaten 24 points to 19 in a great game with the Canberra Raiders. So both sides were in different form, but going into it in the same vein and wanted to get some momentum to start their season. Well, what happened with the teams? I'll tell you. So for the Dragons, first of all, Moses Mbaye came in for the missing Andrew McLaughlin, McCulloch even, who dropped out of the 17 and also the reserves for this game. While Tariq Sims appears on the reserve bench last time out, is not included in the reserves or even any of the 17. Oh, sorry, he's included in the starting lineup this time out. But otherwise, there are no other changes for the starting 13. With McCulloch dropping out of the squad, there is room in these 18 for Jack Gosiewski, who was on the bench previously, but George Burgess drops out due to the infraction with the police over the last few days. There's a change in the backs for the Sharks as Ronaldo Mulitalo misses out on the starting lineup and is replaced by Marky Kuvalu. While there's no changes at halfback, and hopefully the continued form of Nico Hines is one to be looked at. While in the forwards, Teague Wilton drops out of the 18 altogether, and there is places for COC for Talakia, who was on the bench previously out. Then there's a position on the bench for Braden Tyndall, who wasn't included in the 18 last time out. Luke Metcalf is the 18th man. That means we come to the first half, and both sides kept the ball firmly in the middle of the field as the rain bucketed down on the playing field. The Sharks were playing with a strong breeze behind them, and after early contests they were starting to find the meters easily down the middle. Jaden Sewer was simbin for a high shot, and it was only enhanced the Sharks' advantage in the match. They were denied a try for Sione Katoa, but the winger was over on the next set off the back of a nice pass from Jesse Romain. They were back on the attack shortly after, and fellow winger Matt Ikuvalu crossed to give them a 10 points to 0 lead as Hines added the extras. The Dragons almost got one try back with Ben Hunt held over the line. It was one of the few chances they had this half, with the Sharks closing the first 40 minutes with a try for COC for Talalaki. I apologise if I got that pronunciation incorrect, and a late penalty goal by Nico Hines made the score 18 points to 0 at the break. The Dragons got off to the start that they needed in the second, scoring inside the first 5 minutes through Jack Bird off the back of a lovely ball from Ben Hunt. The slow start didn't last too long, with the Sharks clicking into gear to score back-to-back tries to put the match to the bed. The first came off the last play, with Nico Hines running it on the last from the ensuing play of the ball. The ball ended up in Jesse Romain's hands, but the Sharks centre to score. The next try came to Braden Uele with a slick kick from Blake Brayley, catching the Dragons short. Nico Hines continued to drive the Dragons into a corner, and the forward momentum up the middle was unrelenting. The Sharks halfback was the next to score, attacking a retreating defence close to the line. Fortunately, Jesse Romain was simbin in the final 10 minutes, and the Dragons were able to cross for a try for Jack Gosiewski. That would mean that the scoreline is, at the sound of the final hooter, St George Illawarra Dragons 12, Granola Sharks 36. We now move on to Saturday's NRL game, as the West Tigers faced New Zealand Warriors in the early NRL game, with West Tigers and New Zealand Warriors yet to get a point on the board from their 2 games. So here are the teams and the changes that have come in. First of all, the West Tigers, as James Roberts, who misses out, is a late scratch with a short turnaround this week with a quad injury, and was replaced by Luke Gardner in the centre. Alex Seyfarth comes into the team in the second row to fill Gardner's spot. Former Knight Stafford To'a will play on the wing after Ken Mully-Marlow withdrew from the game due to an ankle injury. Jackson Hastings will not play after he was found guilty of a Grade 2 dangerous throw at the judiciary on Tuesday night, opening the door for Jock Madden to partner Luke Brooks in the half. Jason Tarmo and Jacob Liddell return to the side this week, with Kelma Tuilagi out with a head knock. With the Warriors, the 1-17 are with no late changes. Ben Murdoch-Masila was the last man cut an hour before kickoff, and Jack Murchie is the 18th man. More shuffling in the halves, with Cody Nikorima back in the side at halfback after being relegated to the 18th man last week. Ash Taylor has a hip complaint, which is only expected him to be sidelined for 1 week, while skipper Adin Finoa Blake will play despite being inconvenienced by a hand injury against the Titans. So we're going to the first half of the game, and you can feel the pressure on both sides as they ran onto the pitch, desperate to secure their first win of the season. The Warriors had the first scoring opportunity with Chanel Harris-Tavita kicked early and forced a repeat set. However, Matt Lodge lost the ball on the first tackle after the reset and let the Tigers off the hook. West powers up the field though on the back of some strong runs from their back, and, after a penalty, found themselves deep in the Warriors' territory, and then found themselves on the scoreboard with James Tarmo barging his way over the try line. The New Zealand side fought their way back into the contest and were the next to score after Ewan Aitken scooped up a Marcelo Montoya tapback to level the scoring. The club started to trade sets but let themselves down with discipline and handling errors, and the Tigers pushed the kick through and appeared to have scored by Luciano Leilua, placing a finger on the ball before it went over the dead ball line. But the referee made the call that he had no control when grounding, in a decision that may be discussed for some time after this final whistle. The New Zealand side wasted little time getting themselves back into the Tigers' red zone and ahead on the scoreboard when Adam Pompey was able to snatch a kick out of Dane Laurie's hands to stroll over. A penalty against the Tigers handed the Warriors to push their lead out by 2. With the first half almost over, the Tigers would not quit and found themselves in a scoring situation again when David Nufaluma tapped a kick back to Dane Laurie, who offloaded it to Zane Musgrove for West's second try of the night. In the final minute and a half, the Tigers sent the ball down the left wing edge and looked sure to score until the scrambling Walsh managed to save the Warriors in the final moments as the visitors entered the shed with a 14 points to 12 lead to the New Zealand Warriors. Then we go into the second half, as both sides started the second half with the intense but struggled with execution, with poor handling errors almost on every set. Harris Tavita looked to have milked a high tackle, which the officials correctly ignored. The young standoff was sent from the field for an HIA as punishment for his poor acting skills. The comedy of errors continued with both sides trading mistakes on repeat sets. The home side gave back-to-back penalties and the Warriors elected to push their lead out by another 2 with a Walsh penalty kick. This woke the Tigers up and they started to run with enthusiasm and looked to be over for another try when Luke Brooks pushed through a grubber for Laurie, but the fullback could not keep his hands on the ball. The New Zealand side started to fight back and made easy work of the Tigers as the home side began to look like the walking wounded. However, a wayward kick went straight to the Tigers' arms and West started upfield, putting the pressure on with a bomb, but had turned out around and had to chase Walsh, who snatched the ball running 60 metres up the field before being slowed down by cramp. It was deja vu, however, as the Warriors dropped the ball once again. They were able to keep the pressure on with some strong defence and looked ready to score before a wayward pass found its way to Jock Madden, who ran 70 metres down the field before being dragged down by Marcelo Montoya. The Warriors winger held Madden down for too long and was sent to the sin bin for his efforts. Wests had one-man advantage and excellent field position but continued to make coach killer errors, throwing away several chances to regain the lead. Warriors coach Nathan Brown was pacing in the coach's box as he watched his team throw wayward offloads in the dying minutes of the game, but despite doing everything that they could to lose the match, they managed to hold on for their first win in what may have been the ugliest game of 2022, and there is a lot still to come. And the final scores was West's 12, New Zealand Warriors 16. We continue with our look into the NRL games, as the next one we are looking at is the South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Sydney Roosters. As the Rabbitohs are looking to shake off a close one against the Storm last time out, while the Roosters beat the Manly Seagulls and the Troy Boyovich brothers by 26 points to 12 for their first win of the season. In the Sydney derby, you would expect that there was some bits and pieces that need to be sorted out for both teams to come up and compete against their local rivals. But the Rabbitohs are 1-17 exactly the same with no late changes. David Mohale was the last man cut an hour before kickoff and Josh Mansour is the 18th man. Tane Milne has been named at centre with Jackson Paulo on the wing after the pair switched mid-game last week. Skipper Cam Murray has been named in the start after coming off the bench behind Tiliva Haviali in round 2. The Roosters, a late switch for them with Drew Hutchinson starting the game off at hooker and Connor Watson reverting to the bench. Lachlan Lamb is the 18th man and Daniel Suluka Fafita was omitted an hour before kickoff. Back rower Angus Crichton has been moved to the bench with Nat Butcher named in the run-on side. Sitali Tupane has suffered a head knock and failed a HIA against Manly, but will play while Joey Manu is also good to go against Latrell Mitchell and co. Since their first meeting before since that semi-final. So South Sydney went into the first half with the Sydney Roosters looking for their first win of the season and the fourth consecutive win over their traditional rivals. It was a half dominated by the Rabbitohs, who scooted to a 12-0 lead before James Tedesco closed the gap 16 minutes before half-time to 12 points to 6. It was not too long into the contest before Joey Manu and Latrell Mitchell came face to face, with the first confrontation of the night being on the South Sydney fullbacks kick return. South Sydney crossed within the first 10 minutes when Cameron Murray strolled through a very clumsy Victor Radley tackle to score. The Roosters' high turnover rate within the first 20 minutes came to their head, with Manu's 20-metre restart ending in disaster after he offloaded to James Tedesco, who failed to find Billy Smith. Murray swooped up the ball and found Alex Johnson on the outside to extend the home side's lead. Mitchell added both of the extras. Finally, the Roosters found their groove in the attack, which saw the New South Wales skipper cross after being involved in the lead-up, along with Luke Kerry and Manu. While South Sydney dominated the opening 40 minutes, the Roosters put up a good fight and was far from being out of the contest, with the half-time score 12 points to 6 to South Sydney. We now go into the second half, and it wasn't too long before the scoring started, as within a blink of an eye, the Roosters capitalised on a mistake from Thomas Burgess, who made a mistake on the opening hit-up. From the next play, Carey found Manu, who stepped his way through the Rabbitohs' defence to cross for the Roosters' second try. Sam Walker failed to level the scores after a horrible conversion attempt from near the posts. It wasn't too long until South Sydney took back control of the match though, and Cody Walker started to make an impact. Murray once again broke free of a Roosters tackle before finding Walker on the inside to score. South Sydney was denied twice by the video referee, though through Mitchell, where Johnston failed to get a boot to a loose possession, before Keonan Koloamatangi dropped the ball over the line on the hour mark. I saw the first one where Alex Johnson went to kick, the ball's hit the floor, he's dribbled a little bit, and then he's kicked it into the in-goal area. It was a knock-on. Koloamatangi wouldn't be denied 4 minutes later though, after his initial drop ball over the line, after steaming onto a Damien Cook dummy half pass coming from an error by rookie Rooster Billy Smith. South Sydney was well on top and 24-10 in the lead with 15 minutes to play. Their lead was extended after the final tackle turnover by the Roosters saw the Rabbitohs counter-attack, with Johnston finding Mitchell on his inside, who ran 60 metres to score. With 8 minutes to play, the Roosters scored through Daniel Tupou after Paul Momorowski beat Campbell Graham to set up the try. The Roosters' win was the first for Jason Demetriou in his coaching career, and a boost for the side ahead of the grand final replay with the Penrith Panthers next week. The Roosters will have to eliminate their error rate ahead of their trip to Townsville to face the Cowboys on Saturday week. But with that, we have a final score. South Sydney Rabbitohs 28, Sydney Roosters 16. So for a moment we're going to break from the NRL games as the Betfred Challenge Cup 6th round, as you can tell, is going to be our focus as it kicks off Friday night, as we saw one of the TV matches on Premier Sports. Each of the TV companies got a game, as we see on Sunday, Barrow Raiders hosting Huddersfield Giants as a championship side face Super League opposition, as does on Saturday where we see Whitehaven facing St Helens on a 2 o'clock kickoff. On Sunday again at 2 o'clock we see Warrington Wolves versus Wakefield again after their Wakefield's win in the league last time out at the Halliwell Jones Stadium. And then Saturday evening sees Leeds Rhinos versus Castleford Tigers, which is on BBC Two. And each of them have their own TV coverage, with the Barrow versus Huddersfield and Leeds Rhinos versus Castleford on BBC Two, the Sportsman having Whitehaven versus St Helens, and Warrington Wolves and Wakefield is being shown on Premier Sports. But the first tie of the round that we're going to look at is the Friday night Premier Sports Challenge Cup game between Wigan Warriors and Salford Red Devils. So the away team came into the game without top try scorer Ken Seo, who misses out on the game due to failing a HIA last time out. So in comes Rhys Williams for his first game of the season. Jack Wells comes off the bench for Alex Gerrard, who has to settle for a place on the bench. James Greenwood comes into the side in place of Shane Wright, and Josh Johnson comes onto the bench in place of Greg Burke. Wigan, on the other hand, bring back Jake Bibby for a game against his old side as Sam Halsall drops out of the starting lineup, in the only change to the starting 13 for Wigan this evening. On the bench, we see Ethan Havard and Joe Shorrocks come into the bench instead of Harry Smith, while they are joined on the bench by Patrick Mago and Oliver Partington. We move into the first half and it's Wigan who gets the first points on the board. Attacking in the Salford 10, Sam Powell jumps from half back and Liam Byrne crashes over from close in front of the line to score a 4-pointer, which Zach Hardacre adds the extras to for a 6-0 lead. 5 minutes later, Wigan are in it again as a kick to the left edge by the Wigan attack finds Liam Marsh attacking to compete for the ball. After the ensuing melee, Marshall is there to get the ball and put downward pressure on it to score the try. The video referee has a decision to look at the incident to see if the referee's decision to say it's a try, and that's what I'm calling it. Can you confirm it for me? And after quite a lot of looks, unfortunately, he does give it. Liam Marshall has got the second try of the night, which Zach Hardacre again adds the extras to, which means a 12-0 scoreline. At about this time of the game though, I think about 25 minutes in, a tackle between James Greenwood of Salford and Tommy Lulai and Willie Isa saw the Salford man come off badly, as he ended up not being able to get up with any weight on his left leg, unfortunately, and he was later taken for an x-ray and scans in Wigan Hospital. It didn't look good for the young man. Hopefully he gets better sooner rather than later. The incident was put on report, so there could be a potential ban there for Tom Lulai, saying he was the perpetrator in the incident. This kind of took the wind out of the first half, and the only further points after this was a goal from Zach Hardacre after a penalty was awarded right in front of the sticks. And 15 minutes of the game left to go, and Wigan kept their defence really solid, but still a bit clunky in offence. But going to half time, Wigan 14, Salford 0. So the second half wasn't exactly a points fest, I'm afraid, as it was error-strewn, it was clunky. That's the word of 2022, I'm afraid, for rugby league. And also, two sides that were settling for the result. But there were points, only 6, when they came to Wigan. So Wigan are running it on the 4th tackle, and Cade Cust gets an offload to Sam Powell, who passes it out wide to Tommy Lulai, who puts a kick into a little bit of space for Zach Hardacre, which Joe Burgess didn't break his neck for, but Hardacre passes the ball into John Bateman, who scored the second try of the season to make it 18 points to 0, and Zach Hardacre added the extras to make it 20 points to 0. And after this, both teams huffed and puffed, but nothing came of it, and the game petered out. No team got any injuries, any further injuries, any further bans. There was a little bit of concern for Kai Pearce-Paul early in the after the Liam Byrne try, as it looked like he had a groin strain. The young England call-up didn't return for the rest of the game, but didn't need to really, as the game petered out, as I said, and the score finished. Wigan 20, Salford Red Devils 0. So we come to Saturday morning now, and we have more NRL games. Getting a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, but hey-oh. It's just one of those things. But we persevere with a great game as the Penrith Panthers face the Newcastle Knights in the game against 2 of the only unbeaten sides left. So here are the 2 teams. Penrith Panthers coach Ivan Cleary has updated his squad ahead of Saturday's afternoon match against the Newcastle Knights at Carrington Park in Bathurst, 4 AM UK time. With representative forwards Liam Martin and James Fisher-Harris ruled out of round 3, Cleary has been forced into making 2 changes to the starting lineup. Chris Smith has been named to play his first game for the Panthers since debuting for the club in 2015, while Spencer Leniu has been promoted to the front row. For the Knights, the coach Adam O'Brien has reduced his squad for tomorrow's afternoons for this final game of this. For this first game of Saturday, with Kalen Ponga was given every chance to play. However, the captain has not recovered in time from his knee injury. In positive news, David Saifiti will play against the Panthers with Simi Sasagi and Sua named on the extended bench. So the only real change of note is Tex Hoy plays at fullback instead of Ponga. But as you see on the picture in front of you, Penrith set up chances over the opening period of the game and drew first blood when Tylan May pounced on a Jerome Luai grubber. The game then slowly descended into a field position battle, with neither side setting up a real opportunity. Newcastle got a scrum on Penrith's goal line and swept away with a set play to put Dominic Young over the line for his third try in 3 games. The theme of the game continued. A side earning a repeat set got across the line, but Isaac Targo lost control over of the ball as he crossed the try line. Controversy ensued, however, as the bunker found Mitch Barnett had taken out Chris Smith with a raised forearm. Peter Goff, the referee, immediately sent off the Knights' second rower, and Stephen Crichton squared the game off with a penalty. Down to 12 men, Newcastle struggled to defend Penrith's lateral movement, and May was able to grab a second before half-time, as the scores were 12 points to 6 in the Panthers' favour. Going into the second half, Newcastle, despite being a man down, came out hard and fast. But, despite multiple chances, they couldn't break down the Penrith defence. Penrith, however, could break down Newcastle's, and Sean O'Sullivan's bomb bobbled into Targo's hands for their third try of the night. Newcastle wasn't out of it, however, and Tex Hoy went over with less than 5 minutes after the Targo's try, after getting on the outside of Villami kick-out. Penrith extended their lead once again, though, after a broken play led to Targo snagging a grubber kick over the try line, just picking it up and putting it down. Newcastle put their ensuing kick-off out on the full, and Penrith took full advantage of the penalty to cross once again, this time through Stephen Crichton. The Knights weren't going away, however, and Bradman Best crossed to bring it back to a 2-point game. And they set up a grandstand finish when Inari Tuala finished off a play that went through 5 sets of hands, but Jake Clifford missed the conversion, meant that the lead kept them 8 points behind. But it would be Penrith to twist the dagger, and May capped off a hat-trick with 3 minutes remaining, and they weren't finished, with Charlie Staines leaping into the corner to improve their points differential. A heartbreaker for the Knights, as they fought valiantly even with 12 men. But Penrith were too strong, as the scores finished. Penrith Panthers 38, Newcastle Knights 20. So now we go on to the second game for Saturday, as the two sides involved are the Melbourne Storm and the Parramatta Eels, as the Storm are looking to make it 3 wins from 3, and Parramatta Eels to get their second win of the season. So here is the team news. Xavier Coates has been replaced on the wing by Nick Meaney in a late change. The loss of Coates offsets the inclusion of by Brandon Smith after returning early from a broken hand to fill in the hooking role left by Harry Grant, who has contracted COVID, and his housemate Tyron Wishart, being involved in the COVID protocols, being unavailable as well. Chris Lewis has been promoted to the bench, while Tyson Smoothie is the 18th man. For the Eels, Nathan Brown has been promoted to the starting side at lock, with Oregon Kafusi going back to the bench. Wyamu Gregg comes onto the interchange bench instead of Jake Arthur, who underwent an appendectomy and will be sidelined for at least 3 weeks. So those are the changes. Let's see how the game goes off. So we're going to the first half, and in this Melbourne sunshine, both sides were looking to promote the ball. There were plenty of offloads in the first half, and opening spaces for both sides to exploit. Melbourne crossed the strike twice through wingers Remy Smith and Nick Meaney, but both were chalked off. Storm would find the first points of the half, though, with through another Smith, the returning Brandon. He took an offload to bury low and got himself over the line. Pappenhausen added the 2 to make it 6-0. The Eels were a bit errant to start the contest, but found their groove quite quickly after the scoring. Points quickly followed as well, as first Dylan Brown cut open the defence before he sent Gufferson across for a try, which Mitchell Moses added the 2 for 6-all. Then Wacker Blake turned himself into a cannonball to find the left corner to complete the turnaround. It was 12-6 to the Eels after Moses again converted. The host was sent into the break after the late error from the Eels. They ran another set play down the left between Kenny Bromwich and Meany, which this time wasn't taken off for the winger, who dived over in the corner. Pappenhausen added the 2 to make it 12-all at the break. After half-time, Melbourne retook the lead quickly, and after some smart thinking from Cam Munster, the halfback saw the Eels defence hemmed in on the edge and then kicked for Meany on again, who won the race and dotted down for another try. Pappenhausen added 2 more for 18 points to 12. The Eels didn't seem to fear the Storm side like many do, and the visitors scored twice through kicks. Once through centre Tom Opachik, through an inventive effort from interchange forward Ray Stone, who put them up 24 points to 18 with 5 minutes to go. You can't count out a championship side like the Melbourne Storm are at any point. After Brandon Smith poked through a gap and found Cameron Munster in support, he then in turn sent away the Ryan Pappenhausen to make it 24-all. This after the Parramatta Eels was Mitchell Moses was shouting at his halfback partner to give him the pass so that he could go for a drop goal down the other end, but it was an error, and going from a possible 25 points to 18 going into the final minutes to 24-all, you feared for the Eels. You thought that they were going to miss out. Both sides trying to punch through with a field goal to win it though. Pappenhausen had an effort charged down by Opachich in a huge effort, then Mitchell Moses' radar was off for his effort, and that's where the match finished. Regular time before we went into golden point. Now, the first attempt was done by by Mitchell Moses, but it cannoned off the post of the drop goal attempt. But Ray Stone was charging in, and he picked up the ball, sidestepped around Jerome Hughes, and dived over the line in absolute agony as he looked like he'd done his right knee as he stepped around Jerome Hughes. That's why the celebrations were tempered, because the stricken teammate of the Eels was in so much pain. The referee though went to the bunker as they had to check 2 things. He even called it as a no try. First of all, did he ground it? Second of all, was he onside? Oh, Ray Stone was miles onside. What a fantastic effort he did. And the step around, he could see that he only had 1 step in him before he had to dive over the line. That's all that he needed. And the try was given, and the Eels went out victors. And the score was Melbourne Storm 24, Parramatta Eels 28. So I'm going to end this video 1 match light, and I will do my review of the Canberra versus Gold Coast Titans game tomorrow, as one of the bands that I'm going away from rugby league. It's a bit hard to say. Because one of the bands that I've been following for quite some time, never went to a gig, but their songs every time that came out were at a poignant time in my life and helped me understand what we're feeling, what music does. It makes you a bit teary. And I was just in the car doing some deliveries for my mum, and the news came over the radio that Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins has died. One of the bands of my life, no two ways about it. Really sad to hear that story, that he had, at the age of just 50. The band were on tour in Colombia and had died in his hotel room on Saturday morning, or Friday night, wherever you are. Born February 17, 1972 in Fort Worth, Texas, he was being associated with Alanis Morissette, as well as his own bands like Eagles of Death, Eddie Fisher, Taylor Hawkins and the Coattails Raiders, as well as the Foo Fighters. He was the drummer on Alanis Morissette between 1995 and 1997, and started touring with the Foo Fighters in 1996 after William Goldsmith left the band. He was part of the singing entourage as well when it came, as he, I remember him helping out with Under Pressure, I think it was, live. That was very good. The band, though, have announced on their social media this short statement. Foo Fighters family is devastated by the tragic and untimely loss of our beloved Taylor Hawkins. His musical spirit and infectious laughter will live on with all of us forever. Our hearts go out to his wife, children and family, and we ask that their privacy be treated with the utmost respect in this unimaginably difficult